Welcome to the kbbreview podcast, the show all about the ins and outs and ups and downs of being an independent kitchen and bathroom retailer. I'm Andy Davis, the editor of kbbreview, and this is another in our very special bonus series of interviews marking our milestone 500th issue. We published our first issue back in 1984, and since then we've brought retailers the latest news, big interviews, unwavering opinions, valuable advice, deep analysis and product insights. And that longevity is not by accident. We are as buffeted by the uncertain and unpredictable market as much as anyone, and our heritage is built as much on resilience as it is by quality. And this is what we're exploring in this series. We're talking to some of the industry's leading suppliers about their resilience, their history, continuity and investments in the future. And in this episode, we're meeting Howard Grindrod, the head of Hisense UK. Now, as I'm sure you know, Hisense is a huge global technology company, and appliances are obviously a massive part of that. But the UK is a big success in its own right too, and it has some very impressive plans in the future, particularly when it comes to kitchens. So how has resilience played a part in that, and what comes next? So here is Howard now. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, Andy. Thank you very much for inviting me onto your podcast.
Well, you know, it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm going to say this, and I mean this in the most respectful way to you, Howard. You are an absolute veteran, and if anyone can talk about these kind of subjects, it's got to be you. So I'm very pleased that you've spared us a little bit of time. Now, everyone knows Hisense, obviously. Everyone knows the name. As the World Cup is on, it's currently all over every single advertising board in virtually every match. But in terms of the UK and in terms of the appliance side of it, can you give me a sort of quick history and an idea of the scale of it in the UK?
We started the business in 2012. And I'm one of the founding management team of the business. So we started putting it together in 2011, and then we registered the company in 2012. And since then, it's been, to be honest, it's been a bit exponential, the way we've grown. What's happened in 2012, we've essentially started off selling refrigeration products. And surprisingly, we didn't, and people are surprised about this, we didn't start selling TV until about 2017, something like that, 2018. So MDA was the base of our business. In 2018, we bought Grindrod, which a few people will know about in the industry, which gave us a European base. So from that time, we added new product groups. So we added cooking, we added dishwashing. We increased our range of laundry because we already made laundry, but buying Grindrod gave us more expertise in laundry products. So from 2018, it's fair to say we became a full profile MDA supplier to the UK market. Our strength in refrigeration goes right the way through our development, I have to say, because when we first started, naively perhaps, we thought we'll come into the market and we will be safe. We'll bring in combi fridge freezers, we'll bring in traditional sorts of products which the market would be accepting of. And we brought in some relatively small quantities of what we call multi-door products. They were French door products with a drawer underneath, but we kind of dipped our toe in the water. And what we found in those early days, that we sold out of those products really quickly. We were left with the combi fridge freezers because everybody else had them, and we were competing in quite a full market. But the multi-door products grabbed the imagination, and interestingly, it was the design and the quality of the product which got acceptance into the market. That gave us confidence to talk to our R&D people and our product development teams back in China to have a look at the multi-door market, because at that time there was only one or two French door type products. The other multi-door products were the traditional kind of American style fridge freezers. So we had a task. Well, we tasked our R&D people to look at iterations of refrigeration products where we could have, two doors at the top with refrigeration, put the two doors underneath for the freezer, and then look at, different width configurations and that kind of thing. And we actually established a new part of the market. Very quickly, relatively quickly, we made that sector, to be quite honest. We made it our own. So we came out of nowhere with the Hisense brand, but through innovation, internal discussion, etc., we developed this multi-door sector, which obviously drew our competitors in as well. That product group has evolved quite dramatically. But if you look at the data, we're still pretty dominant, or we are very dominant in that sector to this day.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say it's a growth there through innovation and design as opposed to a price point kind of argument. We'll touch on that a bit in a little bit, I think. But let's just come back to the here and now. What is your current reading of the market? How is business for you at the moment? We are talking about resilience. The market isn't brilliant. The market has been flat or worse for a long time. You're a very experienced guy. What's your reading of it at the moment?
We're overloaded with uncertainty at the moment. I think that's the issue. And if you listen to the commentators and the politicians, they're all trying to get their mind around where we're at. So I don't think any more can be really said of that. But as far as manufacturers are concerned, people supplying into the market, we've just got to really, be balanced in our approach. There is no one's got the answers. So you have to dig into your own company and know what your strengths are, and make your forecasts and make your predictions around your products, your colleagues, your knowledge of the market, because nobody really has got a handle in the market at the moment. I mean, driving in this morning, I noticed that the commentators now saying that the house prices have gone up for the first time in God knows how many months. Go back a week and everyone was talking about doom and gloom about the property market, particularly in the London area. So news changes very, very quickly. People are looking at their travel plans a little bit more carefully. So back when we had recessions in the past, people maybe would cut down on certain areas of their household spend. Now it's a bit more nuanced what people want to do. I mean, some people want to spend the money on holidays and getting out and about. During COVID, people wanted to spend the money on improving their homes. I think now we're going through a period of time where people want to do both. I think they're kind of a bit balanced between the two. I think people are sort of looking at travel and they're being a bit more practical about where they go. That's the first thing. Maybe some families are cutting back on the number of holidays. If they can afford to have multiple holidays, they're kind of cutting back. So those that have got the money will then direct more money to looking at their home improvement. So as far as predicting market projections, I think you have to be a little bit of a sociologist, really, as well as a marketeer and a brand manager.
So obviously you've personally and the company that you work for have been through lots of these kind of cycles of ups and downs. And particularly, I think, since the crash in 2008, there's just been this one thing after another. There's been Brexit, there's been recessions, there's been COVID, there's been supply chain problems, blah, 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 blah. How do you learn from those things? And what have you learned from those kind of disruptions that you could apply to how you manage your supply to your customers today? How do you take the best from those situations and improve on them rather than just saying, well, this is all out of my control, nothing I can do about it?
Well, in the early days, it was more, as we've talked about the development of our refrigeration market. In the early days, we followed our instincts. As you quite rightly point out, the 2008 crash was a defining period of time. And us coming along in 2011 and 2012 saying, there's a new brand here, take a risk on us. I mean, that was just not very well received at all. I mean, people very politely, had meetings with us, but they were thinking, has this company got legs? Because there's so much competition in the market, they're going to get killed before they even start. So there was a reluctance to make an investment. So we actually had to follow our instincts in those early days, to be quite honest. We followed our instincts with developing the multi-door products. We followed our instincts with the market as well, because, one thing you cannot do is you can't tell people what to think. You've got to listen and adapt your own strategies around the space that people give you, to be quite honest. So it was quite obvious that the traditional route to market was going to be very difficult for us. But going through that traditional independent trade and to go through building up a sales team to go around knocking on doors, because you have to get a strong base for your company. You have to pay the bills. We very much had to pay our own bills. We weren't bankrolled by our parent company. So what we did at that period of time is we listened, and we listened about what was happening on internet retailing, which had a bit of a bad reputation going back to 2012. There was a lot of fear, I think, in some areas. I think there was a feeling that the internet would devalue really the bricks and mortar retailing rather than add to it, which we have latterly found out that online retail is a mixture. You have to balance, you have to become omni-source, basically, an omni-retailer these days. But in those days, which is, when you say those days, it sounds years ago, it's not that long ago, we decided that really going to market on the internet was the thing to do, because it did two things. A, it was a new channel of distribution, which was not quite so judgmental about having a new brand coming on. But from a new brand coming into the market, it gave us the opportunity to photograph the products, put them on a website. We were able to present our complete range rather than getting just a snapshot of our range in different channels of distribution. We were able to put our products online. We were able to get people to talk about our products online. So we had presenters discussing our products, and we were able to really create and follow a customer journey. We could actually find out what our customers thought about them. There weren't very many of them in those days, but at least we could look at the reviews. We could follow the reviews. We could assess whether certain products were capable of going up against our somewhat major competitors. We were just a minnow. So we just listened, and we built a base where people noticed us. And then they asked us, which, in those days, why did you come to us first? And why did you go online? I think that was the main thing. Why did you go online? Well, we went online, honestly, because we didn't feel at the time there was anywhere else to go to build a significant business. But with 2020 hindsight, that strong base actually allowed us to go into more traditional areas of distribution with the confidence that we could service it. And one thing that we didn't do is that we didn't oversupply. We didn't grow our business to the extent where we were failing with the after sales service. We had to test what we were building behind the scenes. We had to test our service. We had to test our logistics. We had to test all our supply chain capabilities.
So do you think then, from those periods, the lesson that you've taken from it all is a sort of flexibility and to listen to the customer, listen to the market, and build in a level of fast feet, if you like, to react to what's actually happening, even with a company the size of yours, and obviously your parent company is absolutely ginormous. You have to build in a certain amount of fast feet in any business, no matter what the size is.
Indeed. I mean, we began the business like a startup, although, the people would Google the corporation and see how big we were. But as far as Hisense UK was concerned, we were a startup. There was about 5 or 6 of us in the business, in a small office in Leeds and a very small warehouse that we shared somewhere off the M62. And we built it from there. So it was really a step-by-step approach. One thing I'll say about our parent company, they were very patient with us because they allowed us to grow at the rate that we said that was reasonable in the market. We did not chase volume. We did not bring masses of stock in that we had to devalue the product and sell it out. We had the advantage as well that we had the Fridge Master brand as well at the time, which was able to, or we still got it, which enabled us to sell lower end products, but not damage the Hisense brand. So we could keep the Hisense brand, if you like, in that kind of mid to premium sector, which we always had the intention of it resonating in.
One of the big changes I saw, particularly after COVID, was this balance, a much better balance between efficiency and a stability in the supply chain. So as we led up to COVID, I think there was such a focus on technology that allowed this just-in-time model. Things can come in and things can go out. Things are constantly moving. Whereas one of the things that's changed, I think, is actually people got warehouses again, and got stock because they needed that kind of buffer in case there were disruptions in the chain. So have you seen that as well? Have you adapted in that way, anticipating disruption more than perhaps might have been the case 10 years ago?
Well, first and foremost, we built our original model based on sell out. So we were not ordering product in unless we could see where at least 50% of it was going to go. when you're a growing business, you've got to have the headroom to actually grow your business. But we had to see where at least 50%, maybe more, of the product that we were ordering, where it was going to go in the market. By doing that, it enables you to forecast, and hopefully, if you can achieve the sales at the front end, you don't have to be erratic in your discounting. Because if you're erratic, if you're showing that you're making huge mistakes and then you're having to dump your stock on the market, you're showing to retailers that you don't exactly know what you're doing. So that was the one thing that we wanted to avoid. We wanted to be step by step. We wanted to build credibility and integrity with the retail base in the UK. And especially going through online retail, it was important that we demonstrated that integrity, because people made assumptions that we were a discounter because it was assumed that online was always going to be discounting. And that market has evolved over a period of time, and a lot of people are involved in online. So integrity was incredibly important for us. So yes, going back to your question, looking at the market and how you interpret the market is incredibly important. Having that patience and knowing when to push yourself, I suppose, as a business. It's having faith that you can take the risk. Once you've built a base, you can take a risk and take the company that next stage forward. And incidentally as well, I mean, you talk about, we see, I think you said at the beginning about us being on TV at the moment with Hisense and the World Cup. People always assume that it's the advertising that's made it happen. The advertising has really supported us. It's given us that brand awareness. But you can have brand awareness for all sorts of bad things. If we had really bad products that failed all the time, I would say there were certain makes of motor cars going back into the 90s that had incredible brand awareness, and it's taken decades to actually get the brand values back into those. One particular car brand we can all think of, which I won't.
Just say Skoda, Howard. We know which one you mean. This
yes,
isn't a car podcast.
Yes,
it's fine.
So we had to make sure that our brand awareness was for the right reasons. So we had motor racing. We had Red Bull for about three seasons, and then we moved into football. And all of that just builds layers of brand awareness. And we've noticed over the last couple of years, we're in that sweet spot where your brand awareness is getting built by word of mouth, because people go to the pub and they talk about their extensions and they talk about buying their new TV sets. And what did you buy? And we're in that basket of brands that people are talking about. So it's taken on a life of its own.
What are your plans around that sort of kitchen retail market, the cooking and refrigeration channels at the moment? What are your plans going forward with them? Because it is dominated by big European brands at the moment, but I think certainly since COVID and since there's been supply issues and availability issues, retailers in particular are much more open to considering new suppliers and new brands. So what are your plans in that arena, and how much do you think they should look at the resilience, the stability of companies like yours? That it might be a brand they're unfamiliar with or not have sold yet, but actually when they look at the infrastructure behind you, it's incredibly impressive.
Let's be right here. When the infrastructure was built up around us, we've created, yes, we're part of a big parent company, but any subsidiary any offshore subsidiary, we're kind of like a master of ceremonies. We've got masses of factories and product teams. I mean, outside of my door here, we've got product managers for every product group that we're involved in, and they're involved in ordering and forecasting and ordering products from all our factories that feed it. So as a general management team in any subsidiary, it's kind of assembling that available menu of products, and it's kind of like showtime. You have to make sure that you're presenting your company in the best possible way. The blunt answer to your question, we've been evolving actually that base to the kitchen studios and to the independent market over the last 12 years. It's not something we've just gone, bang, look at what we're doing. Next year, we're going to have this huge range of products and it's all going to be suitable for you. We've gone through the iterations of multi-door refrigeration. So that was our strength. We're very good at making refrigerators. And we dominated the market in the UK for some time through OEM and our own brands for quite a long time. We then buy Gorenje and we have access to all their products. And then we evolve those products through our own mass production efficiencies and engineering efficiencies. And we look to the design of the product to fit into a kitchen environment, because we want to be a go-to household brand. Because if you want an electrical product, we want you to think about us. So if we go through it very quickly, product group by product group, refrigeration, tick in a box, we're very good at it. And that's a solid base. We were selling laundry products, which we were producing at a joint venture in China for laundry products. We then developed production, or we took on board the production from Europe. That product, first and foremost, was reliable, fit for purpose. No one had any complaints about it, which is important as well. People didn't question whether we could make products. They actually questioned whether it was the right price, the right spec, and all of this kind of thing. We've now got that situation where we have got laundry products across all the price points. We're selling under the Hisense brand £900 washing machines, which are internet connected through our Connect Life app. We've got the Kitchen Fit product, which is a subgroup within our product range, and I'll come back to that separately. We've got dishwashing product, which again covers all the major price points. Cooking, we've just tough market cooking. So we've had to really, really look to design, look to features, look to innovations with things like pizza settings, pyro ovens. Obviously, we can use TFT displays. That's in our remit. We're very good at that sort of thing. So we've been able to include TFT screens. We've been able to harness the change from gas to induction, because we've just come into the market at the right time to ride on the back of induction hobs. And behind those, the greater categories, we've got this kitchen fit concept, which works on all sorts of levels. Modern houses have got all sorts of configurations. People want things to look right. They want well-designed products in their kitchen, but they want them to fit in. They don't want their appliances to actually look lumpy and stick out of work surfaces and what have you. I think we were the first, in fact, I know we were the first manufacturer to actually embrace this kitchen fit concept. Other brands are doing that sort of thing, but I would say that they're not doing it as well as we are, because we were in it very early. And we've looked at the design of these products, that they vent from the front, that they've got very small gap. Your refrigerator just looks like a cupboard, basically, that fits in and is fully ventilated. We've got laundry products which will do the same. So you don't have to put a built-in laundry product behind the door. We do that we do built-in, but you can actually have a fully integrated, in appearance, laundry product, which incidentally can go up to 12 kilos in capacity and actually fit within the depth of a kitchen unit. And we've done that by completely redesigning the drum of the unit. We've looked at the design of laundry products, and we've actually taken it to the next stage of evolution. So we are looking at modern life, I suppose, and looking at how we can adapt our product and how we as a brand can be different. So how we can genuinely add value. And it's also given us that impetus to look at the traditional built-in products as well, because we can't ignore that, because people want things behind kitchen cabinets, but we're giving them the choice. They can actually display their technology and say what a well-designed piece of kit they've got in their kitchen, or it can be all about the kitchen, and they can hide the appliances behind the door. And we have evolved a fantastic range of products. So behind the scenes, we've worked incredibly hard at building this range. And step by step, when people particularly come to IFA, the last two IFAs that we've been to, it's been quite interesting that people are just blown away by the design and features that our products has got. And this is a result of 5-10 years of research and development bringing this product to market.
Again, it comes back to this idea that regardless of your size, you have to adapt quickly, you have to move quickly, you've got to follow the market, and you've got to try and be the first in. You have succeeded with that time and time again with lots of really interesting, genuinely innovative stuff. And I think innovation is one of those words that's kind of slightly overused, but there's definitely some stuff that you've done that I've seen that is genuinely new and different, and you should be applauded for that. And I think particularly because Hisense globally is so enormous, that it would be very easy to kind of rest on laurels and just kind of sit back and let the world happen to it. But actually it doesn't. And I know that you don't think that way. So it is such an interesting company to watch globally and just in the UK. And I really look forward to seeing what you come up with next, because the appliance market is really, really interesting at the moment with the brands that are coming in and out of it. And it makes innovation all the more important. And I think if you're the retailer or the consumer, you're the ones that win in that particular battle. So thank you for your time. It is genuinely really interesting, but I'm going to sort of finish off with a slightly off-the-wall question for you. Outside of your market, outside of kitchens, outside of TVs and MDAs, is there a brand that you really look to or admire for the way that they do things? The one that you really watch out for what they're going to do next because they always do something interesting. What are the brands that you really watch?
It's like Desert Island Discs, this, and your luxury. I want to pick two, actually, so I'll go off message.
Okay, go on, I'll let you do two.
I'll go off message. The one that a lot of people choose, so this is the boring one, I suppose. It's got to be Apple. And the reason it's Apple is that in the startup phase, Steve Jobs did it his way, basically. He took a product, he looked at the design and the functionality, and he looked at it from the position of a user, not as a techie. And they've created something that does arguably what every other computer does, but people just want to touch and feel the products. And, they made packaging an art form. They did all sorts of other stuff around to make buying their product an experience. And as a person that has bought their products, it is, it's exceptional. And yes, they did have innovations like the iPod and such like, but they didn't rest on that. Certain other brands that had that sort of product in the old days relied too heavily. They didn't move it on to the next phase. So they've got people behind the scenes who always criticize what they've got. And I'd like to think that we're pretty much the same as that. The other one, which you may not expect me to say, is Lego. I mean, that is just ridiculous,
Top of my list. It's the top of my list, Howard.
The youth that I am. I mean, I remember being bought Lego when I was a kid, and you were just building walls and things. I mean, now you've got 20, 30-year-olds who are buying into their kits and they're building a Lego environment. I mean, they're just remarkable. They've created theme parks. They've created a way of life around it.
Do you know what it is for me? Right, this is really boring, but it's the bit that gets me every time, is that when you look at a box and it says where the parts have come from on the side, it'll say the parts have come from Denmark, they've come from China, they've come from all over the world. There is never, ever a piece missing, ever.
Wow.
And it is, if you just think of the logistics of a box that has 1,000 different pieces in it, and there is never one missing, and they've come from all over the world. The logistics of that is phenomenal, I think. And no one ever thinks of it in terms of Lego. Aren't they the biggest tyre maker in the world? It's a phenomenal company. I'm absolutely right behind you on that one. That would be my choice. So good. I'm glad someone's finally said it.
Thank you.
So, look, Howard, thank you so much again for your time. It's always fascinating to talk to you, always really insightful, and we'll wait to see what you come up with next.
Thank you very much.